This woman, her name is Andrea, and she deliberately convinced her boyfriend that she was having a heart attack at 11 o'clock at night. She watched him race through the city, terrified and desperate, only to tell him it was all a lie, a test. And when he didn't react the way she expected, everything spiraled into a nightmare that destroyed not just their relationship, but his entire life. This is her story, told in her own words. And I'm Emma, your storyteller here at Mrs. Emma, bringing you the truth behind the drama. Andrea is 29 years old, and from the moment she starts talking, one thing becomes painfully clear. She doesn't believe she did anything wrong. Not really, not deep down. Everyone around her has opinions, she says, but they weren't living inside her relationship. They don't understand what it feels like to be with someone who just exists beside you, present, but not truly there. She met Alex at her workplace. He was a delivery driver, bringing supplies to the store where she worked. 31 years old, employed at a warehouse, and according to Andrea, he seemed absolutely perfect when they first started dating. Too perfect, actually. That's how she describes it. Suspiciously perfect. He never raised his voice, never argued, never showed any real emotion that would indicate he was genuinely invested in their connection. After 4 months together, Andrea started questioning everything. Did he actually care about her? Or was he simply going through the routine, playing the role of boyfriend without any real feelings attached? This doubt began eating away at her day after day until she couldn't ignore it anymore. All around her, Andrea's friends were constantly venting about their relationships. Their boyfriends weren't attentive enough, didn't prioritize them, forgot important dates and conversations. Her coworker Kelsey would tell endless stories about her boyfriend ignoring her tears or dismissing her feelings entirely. And there was Andrea, sitting with someone who checked all the boxes on paper, but something fundamental felt missing. Something she couldn't quite name but desperately needed to find. So Andrea started small. Little experiments, she called them. Nothing extreme at first, just normal relationship situations to gauge his reactions. She would send him messages saying she felt sick, waiting to see if he would offer to bring her soup or medicine. She would mention her car making strange noises, watching to see if he would drop everything to come help her. And Alex came through every single time, without fail. But that's exactly what bothered Andrea. It felt automatic, mechanical, like he was checking items off a to-do list rather than responding from genuine concern or love. He was reliable, yes, but reliability isn't the same as passion. Reliability doesn't prove love. Love is supposed to consume you, drive you crazy, make you feel like you cannot survive without that person. Andrea wasn't seeing any of that intensity from Alex. He was present in the physical sense, but emotionally, she felt like he was somewhere else entirely. It made her wonder if she was even special to him at all, or if any woman could occupy her position and receive exactly the same treatment. The thought tortured her. Kelsey was the only person who truly understood Andrea's struggle. She listened to all of Andrea's concerns and eventually suggested something that would change everything. Maybe Andrea needed to create a real situation, something that would force Alex to reveal his authentic feelings, something where his automatic responses wouldn't be enough. A genuine test that would prove whether he loved her or simply tolerated her presence. Some people would call this manipulative, Andrea acknowledges, but she argues that dating is essentially one continuous test anyway. Every interaction, every decision, every moment together is an evaluation of compatibility. She was just being more intentional about it, instead of waiting passively for some random crisis to expose the truth. The night Andrea finally decided to execute her plan, she admits she felt nervous. Not because she thought her actions were wrong, but because she feared what the results might reveal. She spent hours working herself into the right emotional state, letting anxiety and adrenaline build until her heart was genuinely pounding and her voice naturally shook. At 11 o'clock, knowing Alex would be arriving home from his warehouse shift, Andrea called him. The moment he answered, she started crying and hyperventilating. The words tumbled out between gasping breaths. Chest pains, couldn't breathe, thought she was dying, all alone because her parents were traveling out of town. She painted a picture of terror and desperation. She could hear the immediate shift in his voice. The concern was instant and unmistakable, and Andrea admits it felt good. Finally, Finally, she was hearing real emotion from him. He was asking every right question. Had she called emergency services? Where exactly was the pain located? Was she experiencing dizziness? His panic was exactly what she had been craving from their relationship all along. Andrea told him yes, an ambulance was coming, but she was scared and needed him there beside her. The fear in his voice when he said he was leaving immediately, that he was on his way, gave her exactly what she had been searching for: proof, evidence, real emotion. When Alex arrived at her door, he was completely out of breath from sprinting up the stairs to her apartment. His face was flushed red, and his eyes held genuine terror. For a brief moment, looking at his expression of absolute fear and desperation, Andrea almost felt guilty. Almost. He looked more frightened than she had ever seen him, and part of her recognized that maybe she had gone too far. But instead of continuing the charade, Andrea made her decision. She stopped crying. She took a deep, calm breath, and she told him the truth. She was completely fine. There was no medical emergency. She just needed to see how he would react in a crisis situation, to understand if he would truly be there when she needed him most. Andrea expected relief. She expected him to be grateful that she was okay, maybe even impressed that she cared enough about their future to ensure they were compatible in high-stress situations. That's not what happened. Instead, Alex stared at her like she had transformed into someone completely unrecognizable. Then the questions started pouring out. Why would she terrify him like that? What if he had gotten into a car accident while rushing over in a panic? What if an actual ambulance had arrived at her door? He was focusing on all the practical consequences instead of understanding the deeper meaning behind her actions. He couldn't see that this was about them, about making sure their relationship could survive anything life threw at them. The more Andrea tried to explain that testing relationships is completely normal, the angrier Alex became. His voice got louder. He said she was out of her mind. He said normal people don't fabricate medical emergencies to test their partners. He was acting like she had committed an actual crime instead of trying to understand where she stood in his life. Andrea started crying again, but these were real tears now. She couldn't believe Alex was turning this situation around and making her the villain. She tried desperately to explain that she only did it because she cared deeply about them, because she wanted to ensure they could handle any challenge together as a team. But Alex wasn't listening anymore. He was pacing around her living room, running his hands through his hair, acting like she had completely destroyed his life with this one action. The worst moment came when he used a specific word: manipulative. He called her manipulative. That word cut through Andrea like a knife because she genuinely didn't see it that way at all. She wasn't manipulating him. She was protecting herself and their future together. She had witnessed what happens when women don't test their partners early in relationships. They end up married to men who completely check out the moment difficulties arise. She was trying to avoid that fate. When Alex left her apartment that night, Andrea sat alone on her couch feeling completely misunderstood and abandoned. She had been vulnerable, expressed her fears and needs openly, and he had rejected all of it. She immediately called Kelsey, who was equally shocked by Alex's reaction. Kelsey validated everything Andrea was feeling. She agreed that Alex's response was unreasonable. Over the following days, Andrea tried reaching out to Alex through text messages. She sent long explanations about her motivations, trying to help him understand where she was coming from. She emphasized that she only did what she did because she cared about him and wanted their relationship to succeed. But Alex started ignoring her completely, which only confirmed everything Andrea had worried about from the beginning. He was only nice when things were easy and comfortable. So Andrea started posting on Facebook. She kept the posts vague and general, nothing dramatic or specific. Just honest reflections about feeling misunderstood and abandoned. Posts like, "Sometimes the people who claim to care about you the most are the first ones to turn their backs when you actually need them." Kelsey liked and commented on every single post, supporting Andrea publicly. Eventually, Alex texted her back, but not to apologize. He demanded that she stop posting about him on social media. Andrea found this ridiculous because she had never mentioned his name even once. But apparently, he felt so guilty about how he had handled everything that he assumed every post was directed at him. Andrea called him, and for the first time since the incident, she actually got him to listen. She explained calmly that she wasn't trying to hurt him at all. She just needed him to understand that her actions came from love and concern for their future together. She let herself become emotional during the conversation because she needed him to see how much this entire situation had hurt her too. By the end of that phone call, Alex agreed to meet her for coffee. Andrea felt victorious. She was going to fix this. The coffee meeting went exactly as Andrea had hoped. She started by apologizing for scaring him, and she meant it sincerely. She explained that she had been feeling insecure about their relationship because everything felt too easy and smooth, which made her worry that it wasn't genuine. Easy doesn't mean real. Easy can mean surface level. Alex listened to everything without interrupting. Andrea could see him gradually starting to understand her perspective, starting to see that she wasn't some unstable person, just a woman who cared deeply about her relationship and wanted to protect it. When Andrea finished her explanation, Alex admitted that he understood why she might have felt insecure. However, he didn't think faking an emergency was the appropriate way to handle those feelings. Andrea agreed that maybe she could have approached it differently and promised that if she ever felt insecure again in the future, she would try talking to him first before taking any drastic actions. By the time they left the coffee shop, they were holding hands again. Alex said he wanted to give them another chance, but he needed her absolute promise that she wouldn't pull any more stunts like the fake emergency. Andrea promised. She felt relieved and happy. They were going to make this work. For the next couple of weeks, things were genuinely better between them than they had been before the incident. Alex was more attentive, more affectionate, more emotionally present. Andrea felt like she was finally seeing the real version of him, the passionate man who had been hiding underneath all that calm, agreeable exterior. Her test had worked. Sort of. But then Andrea started noticing subtle changes. Alex was asking more questions about where she was going and who she would be with. He was paying closer attention to her social media posts and activity. He was checking in more frequently when they weren't physically together. At first, Andrea thought it was sweet. This was the attention she had wanted all along. But gradually, she started wondering if something else was happening. Was he being sweet, or was he being paranoid? One day, Andrea mentioned casually that she was going out with Kelsey after work. Alex immediately started asking detailed questions about where exactly they were going. When Andrea asked why he needed to know all those specifics, he said he was just trying to be more engaged in her life, more involved. But it felt different from engagement. It felt like surveillance, like he was keeping tabs on her movements. Then came the night Andrea was feeling genuinely stressed about work and called Alex crying. These were real tears about real problems she was facing. Instead of simply comforting her the way he used to, Alex was interrogating her. What exactly had happened? Was she sure she wasn't exaggerating the situation? It was like he didn't trust her to tell the truth about her own life anymore. That's when the realization hit Andrea hard. Her test had backfired completely. Instead of proving she could count on him during a crisis, she had made him doubt whether he could count on her during normal, everyday life. He was treating her like a liar, questioning everything she said and did. The trust was broken, but not in the way she had anticipated. Andrea started wondering if maybe Alex had been looking for an excuse to break up with her all along. Maybe the fake emergency had simply given him the perfect justification to start emotionally withdrawing from the relationship. So she decided to test another theory. She started being more social, going out with friends more frequently, showing Alex that she had a full life outside of their relationship and didn't need him constantly. Her coworker Jake had always been friendly toward her. He complimented her work regularly and always found excuses to stop by her desk during the day. Andrea started being friendlier with Jake in return. Not flirting exactly, but not discouraging his attention either. She would laugh at his jokes more openly, accept his offers to help with projects, and let him buy her coffee when they were working late shifts together. Alex didn't even notice at first. When Andrea would mention that Jake had helped her with something, Alex would just nod briefly and change the subject. He showed no jealousy, no concern, no curiosity whatsoever. Just complete indifference. And that indifference hurt Andrea more deeply than anger or jealousy would have. It felt like confirmation that he truly didn't care about her at all. One afternoon, Andrea was at lunch with Jake when Alex walked into the same restaurant with someone from his warehouse job. When Alex saw Andrea sitting there with Jake, laughing and clearly enjoying herself, his entire facial expression changed dramatically. For the first time in weeks, he looked genuinely upset. Finally, a real reaction. That evening, Alex was waiting for Andrea in her apartment parking lot when she arrived home. He said he needed to talk, and he looked more serious than she had seen him in weeks. Andrea thought maybe they were finally going to work things out, that seeing her with Jake had reminded him what he was losing. But instead of wanting to fix their relationship, Alex accused her of cheating on him. He said he had seen her with Jake, that it was obviously more than friendship, that something was clearly going on between them. Andrea was genuinely shocked. She just stood there trying to process what he was saying. Here was the man who had been acting like he barely cared whether she existed or not, and suddenly, he was accusing her of betrayal. Andrea told him he was being completely ridiculous, that Jake was just a friend, that she had never done anything inappropriate with him. But Alex wasn't listening to her explanation. He went on about how he had trusted her, how he had been genuinely trying to work through their problems, and how she had been sneaking around behind his back the entire time. That's when Andrea's shock transformed into anger. She told him that he had absolutely no right to accuse her of anything when he had been the one acting distant and cold for weeks. She said that if he had been acting like a real boyfriend, she wouldn't have needed to find emotional support and friendship elsewhere. She pointed out that he had been treating her like she was some kind of burden, and now suddenly he was upset that she had found someone who actually appreciated her company. Alex said that was different, that he had been trying to rebuild trust after what she had done to him with the fake emergency. He was making it sound like Andrea was the one who had been unfaithful, like she was the one who had been causing every single problem in their relationship. Andrea couldn't believe what she was hearing. He was rewriting their entire history together, casting himself as the victim and her as the villain in their story. Andrea told Alex that if he was so absolutely convinced she was cheating on him, then maybe they should just end their relationship. She said she was exhausted from being made to feel like she was asking for too much just by wanting to feel important to someone. Alex said fine. Maybe that was for the best. As Andrea watched him walk away from her for the final time, she felt this strange mixture of relief and anger. Relief because she was finally free from trying to make things work with someone who clearly didn't want to do the work required. Anger because he was leaving thinking that he was the wronged party in all of this. The weeks following the breakup felt strange. Andrea kept expecting to feel sad about losing Alex, but mostly she just felt relieved. Liberated. She started spending more time with Jake, and he was everything Alex wasn't. Attentive, interested, genuinely engaged. He never made her feel like she was asking too much just by wanting to feel important and valued. About a month after the breakup, Andrea started hearing things through mutual friends in their social circle. Apparently, Alex had been telling people that Andrea had been emotionally manipulative throughout their entire relationship, that she had been cheating on him, and that he'd had to end things because she was mentally unstable. He was painting himself as the victim to everyone who would listen. Andrea decided not to respond to any of it. She figured that people who really knew her would understand that his version of events didn't match who she actually was as a person. Instead, she focused all her energy on moving forward with her life. Andrea started officially dating Jake, and the difference was like night and day compared to her relationship with Alex. With Jake, she never felt like she needed to test him or prove herself or create situations to gauge his reactions. He showed her every single day through consistent actions that he cared about her and their relationship. He was present, engaged, and committed in all the ways Alex had never been. But Andrea notes that nobody talks about what happened to Alex after they broke up. The universe, she says, was paying very close attention to everything that had gone down between them. About 6 months later, Andrea was at the mall with Jake when she ran into Anthony, one of Alex's close friends. The same person who had been cold to Andrea after Alex told him about the fake emergency. But this time, Anthony actually approached her looking genuinely apologetic and embarrassed. He said he wanted to talk to her, that he owed her an apology for how he had treated her after the breakup. Then Anthony started revealing things about Alex that Andrea had never known during their relationship. It turns out that after Alex and Andrea broke up, he had started dating a woman from his warehouse job. According to Anthony, Alex had been talking about this woman even before he and Andrea had officially ended things, which explained why he had been so emotionally distant and so ready to believe the worst about Andrea toward the end. This new girlfriend was everything Alex claimed he wanted in a partner. Low maintenance, never asked for anything, never caused any drama or conflict. She was perfectly content to let him set the entire pace of their relationship, never pushed for more commitment or emotional intimacy. She was basically the complete opposite of Andrea in every possible way. Anthony said that initially, Alex seemed genuinely happy with this new girlfriend. He was constantly talking about how easy the relationship was, how refreshing it was to be with someone who didn't have issues or demands or expectations. But then things started changing. Alex started complaining to his friends that his new girlfriend was boring. She never had opinions about anything. She was too passive, too agreeable. Alex had gotten exactly what he thought he wanted. A girlfriend who never tested him, never challenged him, never needed anything from him. And he was absolutely miserable. He started realizing that all the things he had complained about with Andrea were actually signs that she had cared deeply about him and their relationship. Her demands weren't burdens. They were investments in their future together. Anthony said Alex had even admitted to him that he missed having a girlfriend who actually expected things from him, who made him feel like he mattered enough to fight for. He started seeing Andrea's drama not as manipulation, but as passion. He understood too late that her tests were proof that she was invested in making things work. But by then, it was far too late. Andrea was happy with Jake, and Alex was stuck in a relationship with someone who was perfect on paper but completely wrong for him in reality. The best part of the karma, according to Andrea, was what happened next. Alex's perfect, low-maintenance girlfriend dumped him, completely out of nowhere, with no warning and no explanation. Anthony said Alex was absolutely devastated by the breakup. He had been so focused on having a girlfriend who wouldn't cause any problems that he had never bothered to build a genuine emotional connection with her. When she left, he realized he didn't even really know her as a person, and she clearly didn't know him either. Their entire relationship had been surface-level ease with no depth. Meanwhile, Andrea was thriving in every area of her life. She and Jake had moved in together and were seriously talking about marriage. She had received a promotion at work. She had a fulfilling social life full of people who actually knew and appreciated her for who she was. Anthony told Andrea that Alex had been asking mutual friends about her, wondering how she was doing, whether she was happy. He had apparently realized that he had thrown away something authentic and real for something that merely looked easier on the surface. But the karma didn't stop there. Alex's ex-girlfriend started telling people her version of their relationship, and her stories didn't match up at all with the version of events Alex had been sharing about Andrea. She told people that Alex had been emotionally unavailable throughout their entire relationship, that he had been paranoid and suspicious about everything, that he had constantly accused her of things she hadn't done. She said he had been completely obsessed with his ex-girlfriend, Andrea, and had spent their entire relationship comparing her to Andrea. People started realizing that maybe Alex's version of his breakup with Andrea hadn't been entirely accurate or honest. Alex's reputation in their social circle started suffering. People began seeing him as the guy who couldn't handle a genuine relationship, who threw away good women because he was too emotionally immature to appreciate what he had when he had it. Within a year of their breakup, Alex was completely alone. He had lost the respect of his friends, his reputation in their shared social circle was damaged, and he had no chance of finding someone who would tolerate his inability to take responsibility for his own actions and emotional unavailability. Jake proposed to Andrea on the anniversary of their first date. He told her that he had known from the very beginning that she was the kind of woman who deserved to be fought for, who deserved someone who would appreciate her passion and her investment in the relationship. He said he had never understood why Alex let her go, but he was grateful that Alex had been too foolish to realize what he had. The last Andrea heard about Alex, he was still single, still making the same mistakes with new women he dated, still completely unable to understand that the problem wasn't that women were too demanding or too complicated. The real problem was that he wanted all the benefits of love without any of the vulnerability or work that real love requires. Andrea says she doesn't hate Alex anymore. She actually feels sorry for him now. He had something real with her, something authentic, and he threw it all away because he was too frightened to do the emotional work required. He chose comfortable over meaningful, and now he has neither comfort nor meaning in his life. Andrea learned an important lesson from all of this. Testing someone isn't about creating drama or being manipulative, she insists. It's about understanding what someone is truly capable of, what they're willing to do for love and commitment. Alex failed her test, not because he couldn't handle a fake emergency in the moment, but because he couldn't handle the real, Ongoing work of being in a relationship with someone who actually cared about him deeply. Jake passes Andrea's tests every single day without even knowing they're tests. He shows up for her consistently, fights for their relationship, and proves through his daily actions that he's worthy of her love. He doesn't make her wonder where she stands because he shows her every day through words and actions that she's exactly where she belongs. Sometimes Andrea wonders what would have happened if Alex had just understood what she was really asking for from the beginning. Not drama or manipulation, but simple proof that she mattered to him, that she was important, that he would be there when things got difficult. But honestly, she's grateful things worked out exactly the way they did. Alex taught her what she didn't want in a relationship. He showed her the warning signs of emotional unavailability. And Jake showed her what she did want: consistency, presence, genuine care, and emotional investment. The fake emergency wasn't a mistake, Andrea concludes. It was exactly what she needed to do to find out who Alex really was and what he was truly capable of giving in a relationship, and ultimately it led her directly to Jake, who is everything she ever wanted in a partner. Alex revealed his true character through his reactions and his choices, and Andrea decided she deserved better. In her mind, that's not manipulation. That's just being smart about protecting your heart and your future. This is Emma from Mrs. Emma, bringing you the real stories behind the drama. If this story shocked you, if it made you think, or if you have your own opinions about what happened here, let me know by hitting that like button. Share this video with your friends because trust me, they need to hear this story too. And make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another story like this one. These real-life situations are happening all around us, and I'll be here every time to walk you through them. Until next time, stay aware, stay smart, and remember that honesty is always the best foundation for any relationship. See you in the next story.